Picture this. You're outside feeling a cool, salty ocean breeze right against your face as you stroll through a neighborhood where literally every single corner reveals another absolutely stunning piece of mid-century architecture. You know, if you're just walking through Long Beach, California, you might easily pass right by it. You'd probably mistake it for just another extension of downtown or Belmont Heights. But if you actually stop and look closer, you'll discover this small, highly desirable enclave with a charm that is entirely its own. So today we're taking you on a visual stroll through one of the most architecturally distinct and exclusive neighborhoods in the entire city.
Welcome to this video where we are going to help you learn more about the scenic Bluff Park neighborhood today. And I've got to say, this tour is proudly brought to you by the fantastic team at lovelylongbeachcondos.com. They are absolutely your ultimate resource for finding the perfect coastal home, so a huge thanks to them.
Okay, let's dive into this tour itinerary. First, a welcome to Bluff Park. Then we're exploring the neighborhood map, showcasing the beautiful 1960s architecture, checking out the high-rise exception, looking at the 1970s design shift, and finally we'll talk about finding your next home.
All right, Section 1. Welcome to Bluff Park. Let's get right into it.
I want you to imagine stepping out onto a perfectly manicured lawn that just seems to stretch endlessly toward the horizon. The neighborhood actually gets its name from this exact geographic feature. So 13.2, what's that mean? Well, that represents the 13.2 acres of lush, grassy park space that literally makes up the southern border of the area. It has these commanding, panoramic views of the Pacific Ocean. If you walk by, you'll see locals stretching out, practicing yoga on the grass, or you might even catch hobbyists launching RC airplanes and gliders right off the cliffside, straight into those coastal winds. It is such a vibe.
And right in the middle of that gorgeous 13.2 acres is an icon that anchors the entire park. It's called the Lone Sailor. This is a stunning bronze statue that gazes thoughtfully out over the vast ocean. It was actually placed here on October 13th, 2004, and that date wasn't random. It was chosen specifically to honor the 229th anniversary of the creation of the United States Navy. It's really the perfect starting landmark for us before we, turn our backs to the water and begin walking down these historic residential streets.
Let's move to and see how this builds. Section 2. Exploring the neighborhood map.
So, where exactly are we standing in Long Beach? Take a look at these borders. The Bluff Park neighborhood is bounded by Broadway to the north, Junipero Avenue to the west, Loma Avenue to the east, and of course that 13.2-acre Bluff Park and the Pacific Ocean forming the southern boundary. It's a huge, actually scratch that, it's a very compact footprint. And within this tight little grid, the development is beautifully restrained. Aside from one major exception we're going to discuss later, you'll mostly find these quaint three-story buildings housing 30 units or less. It creates this incredibly intimate, community-focused feel that you just don't get everywhere. Moving right along to Section 3, showcasing 1960s architecture.
Honestly, if Bluff Park were a movie, the 1960s architecture would absolutely be the main character. And this brilliantly illustrates what I mean. We're comparing two absolute gems from the era. On the left, we've got the Carlton Imperial, built in 1964. Its defining feature? A show-stopping four-story wall of glass sitting right above the entrance. It is so striking. Then on the right, built just 4 years later in 1968, is Continental Terrace. You immediately know it's a 60s build because of its intriguing entrance design and those incredible era-defining circular patterns integrated right into the balconies. I mean, it is mid-century design at its absolute finest.
But, it's not just about those outside facades. The interiors were wonderfully ahead of their time, too. Look at the Park Royale, another 64 build. Here, you're going to find units that are nearly 1,500 square feet with 3 bedrooms. Imagine stepping out onto those massive outdoor balconies where you can relax practically year-round in that perfect California climate. Then, back at the Continental Terrace, you have these massive floor-to-ceiling sliding glass doors that just flood the entire unit with sunlight. Plus, they were designed with superb storage options, like incredibly clever pantries in the kitchens. These spaces weren't just for show, they were built for actual living, blending the indoors and outdoors seamlessly.
Which brings us to Section 4, the high-rise exception.
So while the neighborhood is overwhelmingly defined by those small 3-story footprints, there is one towering exception, the Galaxy Towers. Built in 1967 right at the corner of Ocean Boulevard and Arizaba, this is literally the one and only high-rise in the entirety of Bluff Park. It's a fantastic contrast to the rest of the neighborhood.
Designed by well-known architects, it features one of the most unique building designs you'll find anywhere in Long Beach. With 80 units, it offers something those three-story walk-ups simply can't. Stunning, highly elevated, panoramic ocean views. No way around it, it's a showpiece.
Let's shift gears a bit. Section 5, the 1970s design shift.
Imagine we've just come from the sunny Saturday farmers market at nearby Bixby Park, walking down those tree-lined streets just blocks from the ocean. As we look at the Ocean Air Imperial, built in 1975, notice the architectural shift it represents. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how straightforward the facade is. It's a very clear departure from the heavy, show-stopping use of glass that was so typical of the 1960s buildings we just toured. The Ocean Air Imperial gives us a distinct 1970s aesthetic, offering a nice variety of square footage, from one-bedroom floor plans all the way up to much larger two-bedroom units.
Looking back across this timeline, you can really see the rapid development boom within this small footprint. In just over a decade, from the Carlton Imperial and Park Royale in '64 to the towering Galaxy Towers in '67, the Continental Terrace in '68, and finally the Ocean Air Imperial in '75, this whole neighborhood took shape. It's a varied but beautifully cohesive architectural history packed into just a few small streets.
And finally, Section 6, Finding Your Next Home.
We've spent all this time admiring the architecture, but how does someone actually manage to live here? So the crucial point is right here in the data. Look at the total units column. The Park Royale, just 24 units. Carlton Imperial has 25. Ocean Air Imperial has 28. Continental Terrace has 30. Even the Galaxy Towers high-rise only has 80 units. Because these buildings have such an incredibly low number of total units, condos here are very rarely sold. This is a highly exclusive, low-inventory area. When a unit actually does become available, you have to act fast.
Because relying on standard real estate mobile apps simply won't cut it at a market this tight, you need an action plan. Step 1. Request the hot list of available properties. Step 2. Pick up the phone and call James Bridges directly at 562-989-7111. By getting into their database, you could actually get advance notice of these rare properties hitting the market before the mobile apps even have a chance to update. That is the ultimate advantage if you want to call Bluff Park home.
So I leave you with this question. Which era of Bluff Park architecture is calling you home? Can you see yourself soaking up the sun behind the heavy glass of a 1960s build, maybe sipping coffee on a unique circular balcony, or taking in the sweeping views from the only high-rise in the neighborhood? Think about it. And hey, if you enjoyed this tour, please make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss our next deep dive into incredible local architecture. Thanks so much for joining me.